morning, everybody. Thank you, Dirk, for giving me the floor. I guess there's not a lot of things left to me to say on this program, but I will take my time to say other things. I wanted to give you just an overview about, how we were working together as a global partnership to arrive to the 10 YFP, which has been presented right now by the speakers who talked before me, and also to give you, as a co-lead of this program, how we see that Morocco can contribute, and how we see that as a co-lead we can share some of our experiences in Morocco. So I will not say a lot about the importance of tourism, because it has been said by Mr. Favila before me. And what is important to remember, and I think all of us in this room believe that tourism is a very important sector for developing countries, but also for developed countries, as it has been said. It's important because it's contributing to the economic development, to the social development, and we have some figures here that I don't want to go through because I think it has been done before. But what is important also to remember that tourism is very important. We want to develop tourism. We want to maximize the profits, the benefits coming from tourism, but we have to be careful about the negative impacts it can have, because it can have some if it is not done properly. And this is the objective of developing sustainable tourism, what we call sustainable tourism. We're trying to minimize tourism negative impacts on society and the environment, and maximize the positive contribution of this sector. But when it comes to tourism, when it comes to sustainable tourism, we are aware that we cannot do it at a national level alone, because it's something we have to do globally. We have to work together so that we can achieve this objective, because when it comes to sustainable tourism, we need to improve cooperation and collaboration at international level. We need to work together to mitigate the climate change and introduce sustainable patterns of consumption and production from the early stages of strategic planning. So if we want to go through sustainable tourism, we also need, and when we talk about the tourism industry, we know that there are a lot of stakeholders around there. You have the institutions, you have the governments, you have the NGOs, you have the private sector. And this is a bit complicated. When you work as a Ministry of Tourism, you know that you want to develop tourism, but you depend on everyone to develop tourism. So it means that if we want to be sustainable, if we want to develop tourism in a sustainable way, everybody has to be concerned, everybody has to be aware. And there is also something we've been working a lot to develop and to promote is, this way of having an integrated logic also in developing tourism. This one who integrates the life cycle product, life cycle of the tourism development approach, meaning that we have to think sustainable tourism at all the stages of the development of sustainable tourism, at the planning phase, at the tourism management operations, at the investment phase, when we are promoting tourism, when we are working on capacity building, when we are training people who are going to work in tourism, when it comes to consumption of tourism products and services, and we are there when we talk about the 10 YFP. And also it's important to have some figures, to have some monitoring tools and evaluation tools. So that's the work, that's the thing, we've started from when we started working together as partners. And these milestones, the most important part of them have been already described by Charles before me. Meaning that before becoming this group which is working on the sustainable tourism program within the 10 YFP, we've worked a lot together in the international task force, and we've delivered some recommendations, some policy recommendations, based on this life life cycle project approach. And we've also had the opportunity to have together a lot of institutions, countries, NGOs, private sector, who tried to develop those recommendations, but also to work on some concrete projects. So we had some concrete projects as flagship projects to demonstrate the importance of sustainability. And then when we delivered what we were supposed to deliver as an international task force, we said that it will be, regrettable to, lose this effect of synergy we have created as partners. So we decided to create the Global Partnership for Sustainable Tourism, which I have the pleasure to be the chair of right now. And this global partnership, which has been created in 2011, was a program of UN program of type 2. Was working a lot within the 10 YFP framework, which tried, to push so that sustainable tourism will be one of the programs within the 10 YFP. So this is our main output as a global partnership to the 10 YFP. And Morocco has been, if I have to talk about Morocco, has been involved in all this process since the international task force and before of the process, starting from the process of Marrakesh, the international task force, the global partnership. We've been part of the steering committee since 2011 with the government of France, which have been the chair, and we are the chair of this global partnership since 2013. And now there is this transition between the global partnership and the 10 YFP. So it's been a long discussion between the members, and we said that we have to build something on what we have achieved yet, and not lose this synergy and this partnership. And this space when we can share, when we can contribute to the spreading of sustainable tourism around the world. And then you have all the milestones which have been explained before on the 10 YFP. As a global partnership sustainable tourism, we had some objectives. I will not go through in details, but we tried to work on 7 action lines: policy frameworks, climate change, environment and biodiversity, poverty alleviation, cultural and natural heritage, private sector and sustainable supply chain, how private sector can act to be contributing to the development of sustainable tourism, and finance and investment, which is a very important field we have to work on, and what have been said before is also important. If we want to develop sustainable tourism, we also need to have the financing boards, the financing institutions aware also of the importance of sustainable tourism and the investment in that. So we've been working on a lot of fields. We tried to give some support to some countries who need to develop some master plans on sustainable tourism. We worked also in some capacity building, workshops. And one of our key achievements was also this tourism project screening criteria, so that we wanted to have a platform for screening projects. And we wanted, to give this platform for all the stakeholders, and especially for the financing, and the financial institutions. So we wanted them to have some criteria to evaluate what we call sustainable projects. And also, one of our main output and our main force, if I may say, is, the diversity of people who were working on the global partnership. We are more than 80 partners working together and coming from different sides, government, national governments, non-profit organizations, private sector, for-profit organizations, and others. And all those partners, we tried to do a transition which can be the smoother one, which can be the one which is going to bring more value added to the 10 YFP sustainable program. So we really wanted to build on what have been accomplished, meaning that all what have been accomplished is going to be shared within the 10 YFP program. We also tried to to give the opportunity to all the partners of the global partnership to be partners of the 10 YFP. This explains that we are so many already on board on the 10 YFP. I guess it has been quicker from other maybe programs. Charles can comment on that. And for us, I mean, now within the 10 YFP, we are happy to have, I mean, some people engaged in the co-lead coming from the GPST, but also as partners and as MAC members, which is very, very important. Coming to Morocco, I will not go through details in what we are doing, but just trying to comment how we are sensitive to all those program areas, considering the work we are doing within our strategy. So, Morocco, maybe you know about it. Tourism is very important in Morocco, and Morocco has also a geographic position in which makes it, I mean, in kind of a platform which is very important considering its proximity to Europe, its proximity to African countries, but also to North Africa and Middle East. So we believe that we have a role to play at the national level, of course, to develop tourism and to make it sustainable, but maybe also at a regional and international level. That explains our commitment within all this process, the global partnership, and today the 10 YFP. In Morocco, we have a strategic plan for 10 years, and we put sustainable tourism in the middle of the strategic plan. We did this from the very early stages on planning our strategy. So we integrated sustainability and, I mean, the objectives of course, creating economic development, but also creating employment, but also being trying to have how can I say, equitable. I mean, a good repetition of the wealth which is coming from tourism, and trying to make local communities benefit a maximum from the tourism income. So what we did, I mean, we tried to have, from the planning, from the beginning, we had this objective to maintain a dynamic growth, but also to be aware of all the constraints we can have, environmental constraints and also social constraints for developing tourism. And this gave us, I mean, a strategic plan at the national level, and gave us also the borderline we don't want to cross, I mean, and to go beyond. And this is how we arrived to our strategic plan and our challenging objective of doubling the capacity and the size of the sector. And then we tried to have an operational schemes and action plans, of course. Here you only have an illustration on the field of sustainable tourism. We were aware that if we want to develop sustainable tourism, we need to have, of course, monitoring tools, and also to have, I mean, to strengthen sustainability criteria within the legal and regulatory standards and frameworks, to develop also some financial incentives and for the investment and eco-territories and innovative projects in terms of preservation and of natural resources, and also to develop a specific strategy adapted in terms of marketing and promotion. And this, we think, all this we can share it within the 10 YFP in the program area 1, and we can benefit, of course, from the program also as in terms of assistance and technical assistance. Then when we come to the program area 2, which is collaboration among stakeholders for improvement of the tourism sector's SCP performance, we consider that tourism, I mean, as I said before, is a transversal tourism, so we need all people to be on board and to collaborate. And we integrated this in the early stages in defining our strategy. So we have a national plan which involves 11 ministries. And then we went through a process of concentration at the regional level. So we declined our strategy within a strategic plan at the regional level. So we have now 15 strategic regional plans for developing tourism. And it involved public institutions, private players, regions, elected representatives, civil society also. And it's been a very important and laborious process, but it's there. Of course, then the implementation is the challenge, but it's there. When it comes also to putting people together, it comes to governance. So we have also some approach about that. We created a commission, a high commission at the national level, which involves the ministry, the government side, but ministries concerned, but also the private sector and the private society, and which is led by the Prime Minister of Morocco. And within this commission, which is important also, and being aware of the importance of sustainable tourism, we created a commission for sustainable tourism, dedicated to work on sustainable tourism. I'm lacking of time, but there is only 2 or 3 slides left. We are also working on something which is very important, which is the monitoring of sustainability at the national and at the regional level. So we are working with our Ministry of Environment and all the stakeholders. At the regional level, we are working on a pilot in Marrakesh, which is our first destination, touristic destination, and we'll be glad to share all that with the 10YFP. And coming to the tools and the guidelines, which are the area 3 of the 10YFP, we've done a lot of work also. We worked on some sustainable tourism promotion tools, like a responsible tourist guide for tourist information, and also the Moroccan Charter of Responsible Tourism, which have been signed by some stakeholders and the private sector. And also we developed some sustainable tourism guidelines for the specific touristic activities, for hoteliers, for travel agencies, for transportation, and so on. And we worked a lot on a technical workshop to build capacity of all the stakeholders. We also developed an e-learning sustainable tourism program within our Higher Institute for Tourism in Tangier. And the objective is to open this e-learning sustainable tourism program for the professionals and the tourism actors. And coming to labels and promotion, we try to push the private sector to adopt some labels. We don't push them through a label or another, but we have a lot of today a lot of accommodation hoteliers, accommodation businesses who are certified Green Key. It's the main one in Morocco, but there are a lot of labels. Also, we worked also on awards, tourism responsible awards. We have 5 editions right now. And coming to the 4th program area, I mean, it's the weakest, but it's the most complicated. It has to do with incentives and financial. We are working with some departments, with the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Energy, to put some incentives for people who are investing in sustainable tourism and in tourism efficiency when it comes to the water efficiency or energy efficiency, which are very important issues for us in Morocco. So that's about some, highlights about our strategy and how all what we are doing is fitting with the program areas of the 10YFP. And Morocco will be very glad to share all this as a co-lead with the 10YFP program at national, both at a national level to try to emphasize this, but also at regional level in Africa, in the Arab countries, and so on, so that we can help the 10YFP to develop all the program which is on the field. So thank you very much. Hope I have not been so long.